Sometimes you have to make decisions. The question is, sometimes decisions might feel way harder compared to other situations. The question is, how do you navigate life? How do you navigate work when decisions come, let's say, a bit tough? And we have an expert on the matter with us here today. Hello and welcome, Danura Miriyagalla.
Thanks so much, Niels, for this opportunity. Good afternoon, good morning, good evening, wherever you are.
Perfect. Thank you very much for taking the time. We're getting straight into it. You just wrote this book, The Navigator's Pivot, a reflective guide to work-life transition. And of course, my first question has to be, what was your main motivation to write this book at this point in time? Because many people at the moment, especially also in the future, are struggling more and more with making decisions because they say everything is so unclear, so not safe, so not predictable. So how make any decisions, how to navigate all of this? So what was your motivation to write this book right now?
The motivation was simple, Niels. There's so much uncertainty going on in careers and obviously the world at large, and there's a need for people to appreciate the fact that uncertainty is now a norm.
Mm.
Before there's a lot of talk about certainty, and in fact, if you look at leadership books or career guidance books, there's a general expectation that you could have this standard fixed model step-by-step approach to treating work-life transitions. You could kind of plan and kind of deliver on your plan to get from point A to point B. That's not the case anymore. There's increasingly external levels of engagement that one cannot predict. And yourself as well, people are changing. And
Yeah.
I wanted to kind of come up with a book that reflects that. But my own career has also been one that's full of change and lots of shifts and pivots, the 25 career in the international sector. So I wanted to bring that experience in the book and provide some guidance to those that would like to reflect on their own journeys and have a mirror for them to look at.
Mm. Excellent. So when people now say you're going to give them guidance, what is this relying on? Because when I look on the cover, I see a boat, I see a compass. So what is the approach you take here?
It's a reflective guide, which means that we have the possibility of bringing in metaphors, a whole language, a whole vocabulary around navigation. It's a beautiful metaphor if you think about it. In the ancient world, the people that were moving in ships to unknown lands were moving with uncertainty. And with that metaphor, we have a possibility of bringing a whole language together. So this book has 8 frameworks, a full language of about 40 metaphors around navigation, and illustrative examples around 4 key areas of work: policy, business, research, and creative domains. And with that, I think everyone can kind of relate to at least one of those. Many can perhaps relate to some, and a few could relate to just about all of them. So my hope is that you will find yourself in that book as you journey through from page one to page
Mm.
280. Yeah.
Yeah. Excellent. Perfect. So when people now say, hey, I saw the author, I saw the interview, I looked at his career, and they say, I don't have this kind of massive international career. I'm more like a regional person, live in my city, still quite unsure what to do. Some people wonder what kind of read are they going to expect? Is it a must-have to have some sort of international experience, international career? Or what kind of read can people expect with your book?
You don't need to have international experience or wish to have international experience to read this book. What you'll find is that I use the international experience to draw on the fact that I could relate to many places. And therefore, the examples that are provided are, in fact, very local. What you have is the confidence that you will see yourself in the book. I've lived in 7 countries across 4 continents, and therefore I could relate to quite a number of cultural contexts. In your journeys, you will see uncertainty. And some of that uncertainty at the local level is actually because of international dynamics. So it is important to realize that even if you have a locally based career,
Hmm.
the external context at an international level is affecting you, whether we like it or not. And therefore, understanding the international sector is just as important as understanding the local context. So your career, whether you shift from one country to the next or you don't, is actually driven or affected by the waves, the currents of the international sector. And therefore, I'd encourage you to see this book as something that you could relate to.
Yeah, absolutely. What about the people who now say, hey, I don't struggle with making decisions because I make a decision and nothing seems visibly wrong. However, couple of times I made decisions and wondered afterwards, well, I'm not sure if that decision was too wise. So when people say I don't struggle with decisions, however, quite often I had the experience that afterwards I wondered, was this actually the right way? And I start to overthink what would have been if I had taken the other road. Can you give advice for these people with that book as well?
Absolutely. I think this is one of the fundamental sort of principles of the book, which is that one needs to align with purpose. Often, when one is moving from one career to the next, you think of very short-term things like, how much salary I'm going to get,
Yeah,
or
the
what's
typical,
this
yeah.
role, what's this role that I'm doing? Would I like it? But you need to think of what's the purpose? What are three words, for example, that would perhaps give you the key meaning of why you are engaging in your work. It could be family, it could be financial independence, it could be some level of adventure, anything. Three words that would give you some alignment, and then everything that you do, every pivot that you make, every decision that you make, you must do so directing towards that purpose. So destination is not important, or the vessel that you use is not that important. It is the purpose that is important. What is that star that you're moving towards? What is the direction that you're moving towards? Sometimes you have there's a forced pivot. You have to shift. Something happens where you have to change. It doesn't mean that you've got to move away from your purpose. Sometimes the vessel has to move slightly away, but redirect it. Bring the values that you have. Think of the orientation of your values, what is the key purpose that you're working towards, and then align yourself towards that. And I think the alignment, the orientation, the direction, the purpose, all those factors will help you think through what exactly is the true meaning of why I'm working.
Mm, of course. Excellent. Of course, one question I have to ask, is it something where people can say, when I read this book, I'm able to escape uncertainty for the foreseeable future, or is it more dealing with uncertainty?
It's dealing with uncertainty, Niels, because what you have in the world today is a constant increase of uncertainty, and the variables of uncertainty are also shifting and changing. Therefore, another key concept here in the book is that one should move away from the fact of trying to build certainty, trying to
Hmm.
build control, trying to build perfection into one's career. It will not happen.
Yeah.
There are leaders out there who try to build control and perfection, put a brave face in, and tell the team that I know what's going on. I have full confidence of all the information around me. It is rarely true. In fact, almost impossible to have that. Therefore, a true leader understands that uncertainty is the norm, and that one has to take decisions based on imperfect information. One has to take decisions based on lack of control, and move towards the kind of direction that is needed. And if you're a leader in a team, you have to think of the whole team as a whole, right? So, and if there's something that happens that creates uncertainty or further increases uncertainty, you can't step back and wait, nor can you just quickly take a decision where anything is okay. Again, aligning with purpose, directing one's vessel towards that direction, is actually the key.
Absolutely, fully agree here. And of course, one question I have to ask at the end of this interview, when people now say, hey, I read the book and I think Danura could be really important, either for me as a coach or for my organization as a keynote speaker on site or online or any kind of other help they want from you, how can people actually get in touch with you?
Yeah, just look for me on LinkedIn. That's the best way to contact me. I would be more than happy to have a chat, and obviously, there's a lot of resources that I can provide, and obviously a lot of guidance that I could provide. I do provide this guidance not as something that comes from my experience. I have my own career, and obviously, there are examples that I can provide. But I want to be very clear that this book, and of course any advice that I provide, is meant to be based on your own experience. And so these are not fixed models. They provide some level of guidance, but I give you the opportunity to then open up with your own questions, but also find the answers from within. So the
Hmm.
answers are within you already, but I would just perhaps help you to find those answers.
I think these are the perfect final words. The Navigator's Pivot, a reflective guide to work-life transitions. Danura, at the end of this interview, at the end of this podcast and video cast, there's only one thing left for me to say. Thank you very much for your
Thanks so
time.
much, Niels. Thank you.